So today we're talking about the 4-step process I've used over the last 8+ years of my business tech consulting with businesses on tech integrations. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you skip step 4, then none of these other steps matter. Your AI implementation will fail and you'll waste your time and money. So stick around because we're going to dive into exactly how to make AI work for you in your business, starting with hey guys, welcome back to Winning Business. So today's question that I'm answering is how do I start with AI when I do not know what the right tools are for my business? And specifically, I talk to service businesses. Now, I absolutely love this question because there are 2 elements to it that are super important. One is where do I start with AI? And the second element is right for my business. Like seriously, there are over 1,000 and counting different AI tools that do all types of different tasks for all types of different businesses. So the reality is, when you ask the question, what tools are right for my business, it means that you're at least going into this approach with the right mindset that not all AI tools are the right match. They're not all a right fit. But if you find the right tools, then those are going to be incredibly impactful to how efficient your business actually can be for the long haul. And it's also going to raise the ceiling on your growth and scalability in the future because robots can do the work in a fraction of the time. They cost a hell of a lot less and they don't need days off or even need any sleep, right? So all of these things add up to your business actually being able to benefit from integrating AI into your current workflows. And the question that we're answering today is where to get started. Now, one thing about adding AI into any workflow, no matter what it is I'm a really big proponent of the fact that AI should be integrated into workflows that are very much computer or admin style tasks. There are a lot of tasks in service businesses specifically that actually should be completed by a human. They require intuition, they require a human connection, and outsourcing them to AI does not do your business any favors because your clients aren't going to be happy with it. And the whole point of your service business is to serve those clients. So there is an element to your business that actually should be performed by humans. And part of what we're going to talk about today is how to identify those. So does it need to be your whole business? No, absolutely not. But you should try doing it with AI, because the goal of implementing AI into your business is you try to take as many of those non-human tasks off somebody's plate so that they can spend all their time focused and dedicated to those human-centric tasks. So before we dive into the steps of how to determine the best ways to implement AI in your business and how to look for those opportunities within your workflows, we first want to point out that there are just some things AI shouldn't do. AI can define emotions all day long, but they do not know what they feel like. So the reality is they can define emotions, but if they trigger an emotion in someone, they're not going to understand how to deal with it. And that's when human intuition comes into play. That's emotional intelligence. And it's not called EI, it's called AI, which is artificial intelligence, not EI, emotional intelligence. So it's definitely smart, but it's not intuitive. So there's a point in business, especially service businesses, when you actually need a person to deal with whatever the problem is, or the good thing is, but for all other tasks like finance, for instance, that is just numbers. That is computing things, that is zeros and ones and decimal places, and it's all computer-centric work. There's no emotion in the finance department. Well, maybe there is, but there shouldn't be, because emotion tied to money, and that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Let's not even go there. So let's dive into what you are here for, which is those 4 steps. So in the last 8+ years, I have been consulting with businesses on tech integrations. I've been building CRMs and integrating systems together to connect marketing to sales and sales to service and service to finance, and how all of these things fit together and flow. So when it comes to your business, when you're thinking about how do I integrate AI into something that's already existing, there are 4 key elements to making sure that not only are you going to make the right change, but you're going to make a change that actually sticks. So Step one is to assess your current workflows. So the first thing you're going to do is look at how your workflows and processes currently operate. In order for you to understand what AI tool you can actually add into your workflow to make it better, you have to know what the current workflow is as is. You have to know what's good about it, and more importantly, you have to know what's bad about it. And here's the pro tip, guys. Ask the people who do the workflows. The number of times I have been in meetings where the stakeholders and I are sitting there and they're telling me what I need to build, and I'm like, well, how does this work? And they go, well, we don't know. We don't do that. And I'm like, well, okay, you got to find the person who does, because that's the person who's going to be able to tell me how I'm supposed to build this so they can do that work. So you have to ask the people who actually do the work that you're looking at for the workflow that you're looking at, because they're also going to be able to tell you which parts of the workflow they don't like or that is really hard. Now, don't take this personally. They're going to say that the work is hard, not you're hard, and they're saying that the certain aspects of it are hard, not that your business is hard. So, sometimes work is just hard, and that is part of it. However, how you do your work should never be harder than the work that you're actually doing. So when people say this part sucks, just listen, because at that point, that becomes a huge opportunity where we say, okay, AI could potentially come in and help us with this part. Which brings us to step 2, which is auditing your current tech stack. The next thing you're going to need to do, so first things first is you're going to audit the current workflow as is and look for those pain points, look for the elements of the workflow that are currently problematic. And the second thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your current tech setup for those pain points, for those problematic areas, and notice how the first step, the whole mission, is not to put any tech anywhere. You're going to actually take this entire step back and say, if we were doing this with napkins, duct tape, and glue, how would we do this? You're going to take a step back and look at what the business actually needs. You're going to take a look from a holistic perspective of how do we get our business what it needs so that we can get the outcome that we really want from this workflow. And that's how you're going to figure out where AI can come into play. So the second thing you're going to do is then look at the tech that is related to this workflow. You're going to look at what pieces of the workflow are done by what pieces of tech. And an important thing here is to highlight any parts that overlap. Either that you have two pieces of tech that can actually do the same task, or you have two different tasks being done in two different pieces of tech that could easily be done in one piece. Just elements of that nature. Because you have to look for the moments where you have pieces of tech that are actually able to do the same work. Now, the reason that you have to take the tech audit before you go looking for the AI tool is because if you have tech that is overlapping, there's an element of integrating AI into your workflow where you're not going to want to add more tech on top of what is already a tech-heavy workflow. You're going to want to make sure that if you're going to add any more tech, because AI is just tech, if you can't remove anything else from the workflow that is, say, software bloat. Because the other side of that, say you just add more tech on top of it, is you're adding more cost and expense for your business. Yeah, you might be saving yourself some time, but you're actually looking to upgrade this workflow. And the only way to do that is to go back and look at how the process actually works, look at what tech you're actually using to complete this task, and if you can't have AI actually take over a bit more of that load, aka take over a bit more of what your current tech stack is doing. So don't just rely on any tech's marketing department, because they're not going to be able to tell you what the tool actually does or does not do, because they never actually implement it for businesses. They don't know for sure. So it's really important that when you're taking an audit of what any one tool can or can't do, that it also becomes important to talk to your team about the experience using that tech. Talk to the people who actually use it every single day, because they can tell you 100% what about the tool is sticky. And let's just say that those become those AI opportunities just sitting in the complaints that you don't want to listen to. So, which brings us to step 3 is identifying those AI opportunities. And the third thing is to actually audit the AI tools that could potentially fit into the workflow based on the pain points that you have identified along the way. So, now that you have your process mapped out step by step and you know which pieces are the painful ones, you know which ones are easy, and you know all the elements that the tech does and all the elements that the humans do, you're going to get the entire and how to get this entire workflow done. Now comes the fun part, right? Where you get to actually go look for opportunities with AI. Now, of course, along the way, you've looked for ways to potentially consolidate and potentially expand. But when you're looking at each individual task, the answer is yes, of course. AI tools can do that. Like, we're talking about pretty much anything at this point. Now, can they do everything well? No, but they can pretty much do anything. It just depends on what your budget is, right? Except, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you're looking at a workflow that has some human-centric tasks involved in it, then it's really important for those tasks to not be taken over by AI. And that is a decision purely in your court, based on how you feel about the workflow you're looking at, because it could be any workflow at this point. Because the fact is, there are many AIs that do a lot of things. For instance, when I was a senior Salesforce consultant, one thing that we did a lot was we had a lot of meetings. And as the project manager during those meetings, I would have to take a lot of notes. I would track all the action items. After the meeting was over, I would then take my notes and put them in the task management system. I would then assign the tasks and estimate those tasks and then distribute the tasks to make sure that the entire description of each task was really clear so that every single person knew exactly what they needed to do. Those due dates and deadlines were also very clear, and that, of course, the client was also communicated with that the work has been started. So, one thing that AI can actually do for you in this particular situation, an example, is there are a lot of note-taking apps. Now, they're just going to run in the background. It's going to be like having an extra person join the meeting. They're going to transcribe the meeting. They're going to track who said what during the meeting. And they're also going to pull the action items from those meetings and the key takeaway and next steps and things of that sort. So then you can set up automations that automatically send those tasks to your task management system. And if you get real ninja, the ninja pro tip here is that when you're in the meeting, you're going to be able to do this smoothly. You can't just sit there and be like, assign this task, AI robot. But if you sit there and you say, okay, so-and-so will complete this task, then you're also going to be able to dictate to your AI helper, at the same time, who should be assigned those tasks when it's automatically transferred into your task management system. So this is where AI could really be helpful, working in the background, and it's not interfering. It's keeping those keeping the human-centric side of the work intact, but it's also alleviating a lot of that time and energy that I was spending on the follow-up. Because if we were to add up how much time I was spending tracking tasks, creating tasks, and assigning and estimating and all that stuff, if there was an AI robot in the background who automatically had been creating those tasks for me and all I had to do was then go and estimate them and just send them out, then that would have literally cut my workflow down, more than in half, like by 75%. Now, in hindsight, I would probably still have to go in and add a few details that AI just wouldn't know based on the tasks we were talking about, but for the most part, it would definitely get me jump-started and save me a heck of a lot of time. Not to mention, when you're in a meeting and somebody else is taking notes, that gives you an opportunity to be more present in the meeting, and you don't have to simultaneously multitask on talking and writing at the same time, and also being efficient and effective because you don't want to pause the whole meeting so you can write notes, which is simply something that you have to do when you're, in a meeting. So, when you're in step 3, auditing your workflow, look for these opportunities. Look for when somebody's going to come to you and say, it takes me forever to make these tasks. It takes me forever to write the descriptions. So how do you So ask yourself, how do you alleviate other aspects of the work? Because you're not going to be able to get away from writing those descriptions. Well, unless you voice dictate them to AI, which is a whole other thing that a tool could do for you. For instance, say that at the end of the meeting, all I did was go, in the same way that I'm recording this podcast, transcribe those instructions directly into the task management system. Then all you have to do is vocalize those descriptions to the task. And in 5 minutes, you could have an entire description recorded and ready to go. If you're going to look for these opportunities specifically when things are hard, you can't actually alleviate the hard thing itself. For instance, AI isn't going to be able to write the description for me, but you could use AI tools to make the actual task of getting the description into the task easier by making somebody not have to write it out. They could just talk about it. And that's how you look for those things that could actually make it easier. So the focus remains on the work and not how the human has to do the work. And you're actually alleviating the tasks that just either take a long time or the ones that are just simply zeros and ones. Those types of tasks, like for instance, take this text and create tasks in my task management system, those automations could be built in Zapier in a minute. So when you're looking for opportunities for ways to make your life easier, look for that low-hanging fruit. And it's the best way to look for opportunities for how AI can be integrated into your current workflow. But none of what we've talked about so far is going to be impactful unless you do step 4, which is change management. Because while we're on step 3 is all that background work when you're deciding where and when and how is the best way to implement AI. But step 4 is going to be the make or break on how successful you're going to be with implementing the AI tool into your business, because step 4 is change management. Now, change management is something that is always talked about in tech circles, but I will tell you, it is the most undervalued skill in a business, and it is the make or break skill of whether or not someone is actually going to be able to succeed with any AI implementation or any tech implementation for that matter. For instance, let's say I tell you, okay, I'm going to implement this tech tool in your business. It's going to save you 20 grand a year in time spent from your employees. Super duper, right? And you're going to sit there and be like, sign me up. But if no one on your team actually uses what I build, then it's not going to save you that $20,000. It's also going to cost you whatever it costs me to build it, and it's going to annoy your team, and it's going to slow down how you've been actually operating. So not only is it going to be a waste of time, it's going to be a waste of my time, and it's going to be a waste of your money and your business's time. So 4 is change management. And the key to change management is once you figure out a better workflow, once you find the right tools, all you have to do is get your team to pre-adopt a new way of doing it, get some emotional buy-in. So when the new way comes out, they're already on board, they're already excited, and they already know that the new workflow that you're building with AI in it is going to make their lives easier. And that is the key at the end of actually going through a full tech implementation. The question becomes, how do you get your team emotionally invested in the outcome? How do you get them excited about the potential for their lives actually getting easier? How do you get them on board with the potential of, oh my God, if we implement this AI tool, I could actually go home an hour earlier. Now, that's not to say that's not what you're going to actually do, but if you implement AI correctly, then you're actually going to take 8-hour workdays and turn them into 5, 6, even 7-hour workdays. So yes, if you do this correctly, you're going to be potentially able to sell your employees on working less hours in the day. Now, I'm talking to business owners, so immediately you're going to say, well, I'm going to come up with something else for them to do for those extra 3 hours. Fine. But this isn't about how to get people in your business working in your business. It's about how to get them excited about those changes so that they stick and so that you reap the rewards and benefits from those AI implementations. So, this isn't about what everyone's going to do with those extra hours as much as it's about getting the employees excited of the prospect of having those extra hours. So, number 4, and arguably the most important one, is change management. Now, I will tell you, if you do 1 through 3 perfectly and you do not do 4 either correctly or at all, you're still not going to actually be able to implement AI correctly in your business. So let's do a quick recap and wrap up. So the first step is to look at what you currently got going on. Look for opportunity and how you're doing things. Look for what people complain about. Like, nobody wants to sit and listen to complaining. However, I will say the complaining gets a heck of a lot less if you do fix this correctly. So number 1 is you're going to go look for the opportunities in your workflows, which brings us to number 2 is assessing how those workflows are done through your current tech stack. Because if you're going to integrate new tech into an existing tech stack and you don't know what tech you're trying to integrate into it, then fundamentally you're going to fail because not all pieces of tech play nicely together. So you have to know what you're currently looking at and what you're dealing with. So the third thing, though, is you're going to actually look for the opportunity where the complaining from the first step meets the tech stack in the second step, and look for how AI can fit in and alleviate some of those hard aspects of the work that you do. And that's those and look for specifically the non-human or emotionless tasks. And that's where AI is really going to be able to help you and help your employees and make a huge impact on how much they are actually able to get done and how fast and efficiently they're going to be able to get things done. But last but certainly not least, number 4, and the cherry on top, but I swear if you don't do this, then none of what we talked about will matter at all. So if you don't listen to anything else in this episode, listen to this. If you don't get the human buy-in on how implementing AI is going to positively impact your business and everybody in it, then it will not matter because it will not have a positive effect in the long run. So with that being said, these are the 4 steps to not only getting started with AI, but also figuring out where within your existing business AI can fit in seamlessly. And more importantly, how to get people actually excited about putting AI into their workflow, because there's a lot of resistance out there. Because I kid you not, if you don't get them excited or some sort of positive emotion, because they don't have to be excited, even just optimistic will do. But if you get a negative emotion, then it's not going to work either way. So at this point, you got to do a cost-benefit analysis of whether or not it's even going to be worth forcing people to do it. But here is the point. If you don't get the people who are actually going to have to use the AI bought into using it, then this whole conversation is a moot point, and you're going to waste not only your time, your money on AI, but you're also going to waste your time and money on me or somebody like me, because we're the people who actually build these things. But I am not the business. I am just the person who builds it. For instance, if I say built cars and I build lots and lots of cars, but nobody drives the cars, then it doesn't matter. I just build cars. And it's the same thing with your tech. If nobody drives the tech, then it's definitely a waste of time and energy for both you and I. So the fact is, I could build the perfect AI system for your business, but if nobody drives it, then it really doesn't matter. The number of times that my old team and I, back when I was a Salesforce consultant, we built amazing things, described exactly how they wanted, and they just didn't use them because the businesses themselves did not actually heed the advice of getting people who had to use these new systems bought in, and the fact that they were going to have to make a change, because I hate to break it to you, but humans don't like change. So the fact is, this entire question is based on how do I change things in my business for the better? So when we're looking at how to change things for the better, the best way to do that is to make sure that everybody knows that it is for the better. And how do they know that it's going to be for the better? Because you have to show them. All right, so I have really enjoyed answering this question, and I'm going to be answering more questions like this once a week for everybody. So if you have a question, make sure you leave it in a comment because I will answer your question. But the point is that I want to help businesses save 10 hours every single week, whether or not they're using AI, but really it's from optimizing their tech stack. And because of this episode, it has spurred the next episode of what if my team is resistant to using AI because they're afraid it's going to replace them. So in the next episode, we are going to tackle that huge behemoth monster of a question. So I hope this has helped, and I look forward to talking to you on the next one. Bring on those AI and tech questions in the comments. I'll talk to you guys soon, and have a great rest of your day.